Hi everyone. Today I come to you with a little more energy and a little less dirt. Today is February 2nd and we just had a huge blizzard here. Snow is piled up some places 5 feet high. Not everywhere, of course. So, I cut my last video short, though I don't know how short because I didn't actually cut it yet. But I just wanted to start off back where I left off. How does it feel having corrected tetralogy of flow? For the most part, my life has actually been pretty normal. I haven't been the most athletic person, though in elementary school for a while I was in roller hockey in the summers. In high school I did marching band. In college I stopped doing things pretty much. I got through gym class fine. I was never really a sports star. But one thing that I've always been told is that I can't push myself too hard. In certain types of competitive sports, for example, like basketball or football, I can't be put into a situation in which I would be unable to simply stop when my heart starts getting too tired or starts pounding or hurting or whatever. So that's something that I've always had to think about. I have visits with a cardiologist every year or so. Occasionally during those visits they do tests on me. That sounds worse than it is. Yeah. Just standard things like EKG, echocardiogram. That's just where they put electrodes on your chest and sometimes on your leg for the what's it called, the ground. And they measure the electrical impulses that the contraction of your heart creates. Another one they frequently do is an ultrasound. What do they call it again? Echocardiogram. So that's just, they put gel on you, they push the wand in sometimes a little too hard, but that's not doesn't feel weird or anything. A few years back they did a stress test when they were expecting me to develop symptoms because of my increasing body size, and that is something that is they actually watch for. They expect me to, as my body gets larger, or was getting larger, I'm not growing too much anymore, my heart would have a more difficult time. And that did actually cause me some problems, I think, as I'll get into. So the stress test, just basically jogging with the electrodes for the EKG wired up, and they raised the interval until I had a cardiac event, and then they just stopped it for safety, I guess. So, oh yes, I have scars too, of course, from the initial surgery. Now, if I didn't say this in the last video, I want to say that I consider myself lucky to... The light's flickering. I consider myself lucky because I needed only one surgery. Some people need 2 or 3 just to start at the start of their life. And tetralogy of flow is sometimes accompanied by other genetic conditions and other heart defects that also pose problems of their own and sometimes complicate tetralogy. I don't have any of those. So I'm doing okay, really. I should put up a picture of the scars on my chest. Scar on my chest, and on the one on my thigh where they inserted a camera, though it looks like they opened the skin pretty wide there. So, don't really know what that's about. The one on my chest is just a big white line. Sometimes people don't even notice it. the rare times that I am seen without a shirt. That's just not something I am habituated to doing. The last thing is kind of a less obvious one. Insurance. I have to make sure that I'm always covered, specifically by some kind of group plan, which cannot refuse me if I transfer from plan to plan. That's more an issue now that I'm going into my own as an adult, and hopefully the President Obama's healthcare will take care of things like that, because people shouldn't be refused. People shouldn't have to be afraid of being refused for pre-existing conditions, or not being covered, or whatever. At least that's my view. Another thing is, I've just always kind of wondered if it's affected me in ways that are maybe not so direct. Maybe things the doctors aren't even looking for. One example is psychologically. So, like, I've always been, told, like, you're a little special. You have to watch out. You're a little more fragile. I wonder if that's, really gotten to my head. If maybe that's what caused me to be not so athletic. Or is it just my demeanor? Just my temperament? I don't know. It's really hard to quantify the effect that it's had on me overall, because I've had it all my life. I can't look back, for example, like before I had it and say, what was I like then? Psychologically, could it have caused me to be more withdrawn? Could there be something maybe developmentally with with more of a difficulty in heart function, or I don't have less blood pressure. I'm fine in most clinical aspects. So I don't think that would really influence me. But, I don't really know. It's hard to say. And that's something that's kind of been on my mind, especially lately. So when I first started noticing more symptoms was in high school. I would notice that it was harder to climb stairs. They were asking me to tell them if I was getting out of breath, but I wasn't really getting out of breath. I was just getting kind of heavy legs, just kind of worn out when I climbed up a few flights of stairs. And I did let them know, and they noted it and everything. Beyond that, ever since high school, I've just been less energetic, a little more fatigued. I've been just kind of had more difficulty doing physical things, more difficulty maintaining energy. And also, at the end of high school, especially more so going into college, that I started noting this. I don't exactly remember. I might have been getting it all throughout high school, for all I remember. I've been getting these palpitations. It feels like a heavy beat, like boom, boom. And sometimes that drags on for maybe 5 minutes. Sometimes it's just a single heavy beat. I actually had I've been complaining about this to my cardiologist for a while. That might have even been what prompted the stress test, but they didn't really find anything, because this only happens at certain times. It's a couple times a week at most. And they finally did find something when they attached a Holter monitor to me. That is, it was just 2 electrodes on my chest continually for an entire month, day and night. 24-hour Holter, they called it. When they called it that, I thought it meant it would only be 24 hours, but it's 24 hours for 30 days. And it wasn't so bad once I got used to it, once I got the electrodes that actually didn't fall off. So I had to record when these events were recurring. Sometimes it would auto-record. I would have to call in and use this code that sounds like a dial-up modem and to transfer the data every 3 recordings. And the recordings were only like 60 seconds long. So, no, it didn't hold very much. It seemed like a very primitive piece of equipment that they lent me. But using that, they found that these palpitations were actually arrhythmias. Minor things called premature ventricular beats, where the ventricle beats before the atrium. And basically that then sends less blood through your heart, and it just throws you off, kind of. And so people can get this without being sick. Old people tend to get it more. People who smoke, I sometimes think I have the heart of a 60-year-old because of it, but younger people get it too. So it's sort of a symptom, sort of not. So that's most of what's been bothering me.